I don't know about you guys, but I certainly could listen to these stories all night long, but we do respect your time, and we're going to keep going here as we continue to celebrate the Bentonville History Museum. Thank you once again for being here. At this time, we have the distinct honor of bringing to the stage Don Overstreet, Sue Ann Overstreet, and Doug Overstreet. Please give them a round of applause. We're going to keep this conversation going. Thank you guys so much for coming to the stage as we continue to celebrate the amazing Overstreet family. And Mr. Don, you and I talked a while ago when we were able to feature you and your business on our show Downtown Now. And I've got a few stats here, and I want to start with you, asking you a few questions here. It was 1948, right? When your mom and dad showed up in Bentonville, Arkansas. Guys, did you know they were here for a wedding? And they fell in love with this little slice of heaven here in Bentonville. Mr. Don, if you could pick up the microphone and explain what your family saw in Bentonville to set roots here and to continue to grow here.
Well, Mom had at least partly grown up in Northwest Arkansas. She was coming back home. Dad had lived here for a short time, and when they met, after the war, Dad got a job here in South Dakota, which you saw talking about in the video. 2 years in South Dakota convinced those two southern folks that they were not supposed to be up north. Dad talked about the first winter they were there, he was complaining about the cold, and one of the guys said, "It's not cold yet, wait till it gets down to minus 30. I think Dad decided then he's going to start looking for something else. When they came down for the wedding, Dad really did look around for a place to open up a shop, and his story about buying it is legend in the Overstreet family. Mr. Ward apparently did take the money and walk out, and left Dad with unrepaired watches ready for him to go to work on. As far as loving this part of the country, if they didn't love it before then, it grew on them. The people around here have been absolutely marvelous. The weather, the whole ambiance of being in Northwest Arkansas is just a great place to live. They enjoyed raising their family here, retiring. Well, Dad never retired, but living out their lives in Northwest Arkansas was very important to them.
I want to go to that thought that you just said about not retiring. When we spoke, you told me that your dad worked till 101 years old.
That's right.
He was
and he was a spunky guy, from what I remember and what I just watched here.
He was 101 and a half.
101 and a half when he quit working.
What's that happen there?
My. What a man.
That half year is important.
The half year was very important. Tell the story very quickly, if you will, about when he was in the hospital and they asked him if he was going to quit working and what he told the nurse.
Well, there's a couple of stories.
Get quicker.
What?
Be quicker.
Okay. When Dad first broke his hip, he was taken to the hospital, and they diagnosed what the problem was and set him down. The surgeon explained what was involved with doing a hip replacement on a 101-year-old man. And spent about 30 minutes doing so, and when he got through, he said, "Mr. Overstreet, what do you think about all this?" And Dad said, "I'm not through living yet. Let's get it on. Let's go." The other story was that when he was in rehab, he was pumping away on an exercise bicycle, and one of the therapists came over and said, "I want to thank you, Mr. Overstreet." And his dad said, "What for?" And he said, "You're such a good example. This young man over here is just 65 years old, and he was complaining about how hard it is riding that bicycle. And I told him, look over there, here's a man's 101, he's just pumping away." He said, the guy didn't complain anymore.
Miss Sue-Ann, let's go to you for a moment. One thing that I learned about your family was the mindset to give back and what your family has done for the police officers here in Bentonville. So important to our city, so important for our protection. Why do you think the legacy of Mr. Ralph and your entire family included giving back to civil servants?
When we were growing up in Bentonville, everybody just took care of everybody. It was, if you broke down on the side of the road, you didn't get out of the car because somebody would come along and fix the tire, or take you someplace, or get your gas, or whatever. We just took care of each other. It didn't occur to us not to. We had survived the war, and it was just everybody pitch in, everybody take care of each other.
And that has continued. You continue to do that. This year at the State of the City, with our Mayor Stephanie Orman, we honored your family, and that was part of it. That continued. Why the police officers here in Bentonville?
You can answer that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Hi, I'm Doug.
My next question was for you, Mr. Doug. You take over, though.
Well, when I graduated high school, my grandmother said, "What are you going to do?" And I said, "I'm not sure." She said, while you're deciding, why don't you go and learn how to repair jewelry?" And I said, "Okay." My family sent me to Texas, and I learned how to repair jewelry and came back. And I said, "I'm ready to go to work." She said, "Go to work for somebody else." And I tell you, my head dropped, my tail between my legs, and I about walked out crying. And ended up going to Tennessee and living there for 10 years before my family called and asked me to come back. The reason why I bring that up is when I got back, the people that I graduated with and went to school with and grew up with, they were so involved in the city, and half my friends were firefighters or police officers, and I ended up being a firefighter for 7 years. And during that time, I thought the peers nominate a firefighter and a police officer of the year. And I talked to Don and I said, "Can we we had art carved class rings, which many people probably got from the high school. There you go." And so Don's like all for it. He was behind me. And so I ended up giving the firefighter and the police officer of the year rings every year. And it's been over 20 years that we did that. And occasionally there would be a mention of it, but we never ended up tooting our own horn very loud on that.
Part of the reason that I was so enthusiastic about it was that we had put security systems in the store, and those early security systems were not too reliable. So I met many a police officer out front of the store at 2 o'clock in the morning to silence a false alarm. They were always so courteous, so friendly. It was never like it's never a problem for them to show up and have our back. So we always very appreciative of the first responders in Bentonville and being able to do those rings. I can't say that every one of them was a solid gold ring, but most of them were. We were able to give solid gold rings to the recipients of the annual awards.
As a dad who's raising a couple of girls right here in Bentonville, thank you for honoring the men and women who protect our city and being there for them and standing in the gap. Thank you guys so much. Very quickly before we go, Mr. Doug, I've got one question for you. I was listening to Mr. Ralph talk about buying a jewelry store and inheriting what was in there, the inventory that was in there. You carried that legacy on with your jewelry making. Talk a little bit about watching that and seeing that history unfold right in front of you.
What I am most grateful for is getting to live beside my grandfather. That's just a portion, but our desks faced each other for 20-plus years. And I watched him, and he watched me, and we helped each other, and getting the opportunity to work that long and that much involvement with my grandfather and learning his temperament and learning life, that can't be replaced.
Guys, as we wrap up this portion, we can't go back to population 2,200. We can't go back to Ralph Overstreet buying a house for $6,000 with the ground included to that. But what we can do is we can revel in the history that we have here in Bentonville, and it's because of families like the Overstreets that we get to do that. So once again, thank you all, and we would like now, yeah, absolutely. We want to present this plaque of appreciation to the Ralph Overstreet family.
That's cool. Turned around. There you go.
Guys, thank you so much. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you all.
All right, we've got a little bit of entertainment here before we go tonight. Welcome to the stage, a fiddler from right here in Benton County. Bella Backer. Bella, are you close? Come on up, Bella. Come on
Do
up.
you want us to stay?
You can walk.
Well, we're putting up just like that. Yeah, absolutely.